Tonight, heartbreak on two continents. Hopes of a rescue lost, with a murder investigation underway. Brazilian authorities have recovered the bodies of British journalist Dom Phillips and his expert guide, Bruno Pereira. According to Brazilian federal police, it was a confession by fisherman Amarillo de Costa de Oliveira that led them to the men's bodies. He is one of two men arrested in connection with their murder. Investigators say de Oliveira's brother is also under arrest. The confirmation of the men's death closes a suspenseful 10-day search, one that saw protests across the remote Javari Valley region. Phillips' family says they aren't ready to speak, but in a statement say they are heartbroken. The pair were in the region researching for a book. Initial search efforts by the Brazilian government and President Jair Bolsonaro drew heavy criticism, but he and other journalists will not be deterred.
He was the kind of guy that would go inside the jungle. He would come here to feel it, to smell it, to understand the reality here.
The São Fidélis Gazette, killed in São Fidélis, Brazil, May 12, 1995. Guida da Silva, owner of the weekly A Gazeta de São Fidélis in the city of São Fidélis, northwest of Rio de Janeiro, was shot dead in front of his house by two hooded men riding a motorbike. Guida da Silva's father reported that the journalist received death threats for articles he had written accusing the president of the local municipal council of corruption. 2. Direct Look, Mídia News, killed in Cuiabá, Brazil, July 21, 2011. Veteran political reporter Ida, 53, was in a car with a female companion in late evening when an unidentified man approached on a bicycle. The assailant ordered the woman out of the vehicle and shot Ida several times, press reports said. The journalist had served as the city government's communications secretary, was a founder of the news site Mídia News, and wrote an opinion column for the news website Olhar Direto. 3. The State of Maranhão and Daquio's blog, killed in São Luís, Brazil, April 23, 2012. Saw, 42, a Brazilian political journalist and blogger, was shot 6 times while sitting in a bar, according to news reports. The assailant fled the scene with a motorcyclist who was waiting outside. The reports said, Saw wrote about politics for the local newspaper O Estado do Maranhão for about 17 years, according to news reports. RCA-FM, killed in Conceição da Feira, Brazil, May 22 or 23, 2015. Santos da Conceição's body was found with signs of torture in the northeast state of Bahia, one day after he was kidnapped by armed assailants, according to news reports. Santos da Conceição, who was also a musician and owned a bar, was playing samba in his bar in the neighboring town of Governador Mangabeira on the night of May 22 when armed and hooded men appeared at the establishment. Freelance, killed in Atalaia do Norte, Brazil, June 5, 2022. British freelance journalist Dom Phillips went missing on June 5, 2022, during a reporting trip in the Brazilian Amazon, and his remains were found with gunshot wounds on June 15, according to multiple news reports and federal police statements reviewed by CPJ. Phillips and indigenous issues expert Bruno Pereira, who was traveling with him, were shot and killed the morning they went missing. State sheep killed in Cuiabá, Brazil, September 30, 2002. Brando, owner, publisher, and columnist of the daily Folha do Estado, based in the city of Cuiabá in the central western state of Mato Grosso, was shot at least 5 times by 2 unidentified men on a motorcycle. The 2 men were waiting for Brando near the paper's new offices, which were under construction. As Brando was surveying the exterior of the building with an engineer from the construction company. FM Capital, killed in Campo Grande, Brazil, October 29, 1997. Lopes de Faria, host of the programs O Escaramuca, The Fighter, on the local radio station FM Capital, and Boca do Povo, The Mouth of the People, on television station TV Record, was murdered in Campo Grande, capital Mato Grosso do Sul state, while on his way to the radio station. Journal O Serrano, killed in Serra do Mel, Brazil, June 15, 2011. Edinaldo Filgueira was leaving his office at night when he was shot 6 times and killed by 3 unidentified men on a motorcycle, according to the Brazilian press. He died at the scene. Filgueira, 36, was the founder and director of the local newspaper Jornal O Serrano. He was also the regional director of the ruling Workers' Party (PT), and wrote a blog in which he criticized political adversaries. Last-minute news, killed in Campo Grande, Brazil, November 21, 2012. A motorcycle-riding assailant shot Carvalho, editor and owner of the news website Ultima Hora News, at his home in Campo Grande, capital of Mato Grosso do Sul state, according to news reports. Carvalho often covered local corruption. The decapitated body of Ebony José Metzger was found on May 18 in a ditch just outside the town of Padre Paraíso, in the southeastern state of Minas Gerais. His head had been cut off and was found 100 meters from the rest of his body, which was badly decomposed, according to press reports. He was half naked and his hands were tied behind his back, the Daily O Globo said. He still had his wallet, watch, and ring. The Radio Keiko, killed in Keiko, Brazil, October 18, 2010. A gunman on a motorcycle shot Gomes, 46, at least 5 times in front of his home in the Paraíba neighborhood of Keiko, Rio Grande do Norte state, news reports said. The journalist, shot around 9 p.m., was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Gomes, news director of local broadcaster Radio Keiko, had reported on a variety of local topics, including government corruption, crime, and drug trafficking, according to local news accounts. Bandeirantes TV, killed in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, November 6, 2011. Domingos, 46, was shot and killed during a confrontation between state police and suspected drug traffickers in Rio de Janeiro, according to press reports. Domingos was a veteran cameraman for the national television network Bandeirantes. Domingos had accompanied police on an early morning raid at the favela, or shantytown, known as Antares, news reports said. Ciudad Nueva FM, killed in Ponta Porra, Brazil, March 5, 2015. Paraguayan radio journalist Gerardo Ceferino Servian Coronel was shot to death in Ponta Porra, a small town on the Brazil side of the Brazil-Paraguay border. Patrick Linares, the Brazilian detective in charge of the case, told CPJ, it was an execution. He had just finished recording Espaço Aberto, a program that featured politically sensitive topics, such as the safety of public transportation. Local journalists are convinced he was killed in retaliation for his work. Bezerros FM and Folha do Agreste, killed in Bezerros, Brazil, December 14, 2009. 3 unidentified men in a light-colored compact car intercepted Vieira's vehicle outside the offices of Bezerros FM, a station owned by the journalist, in the city of Bezerros, 70 miles 110 kilometers from Recife, according to the national daily O Globo. Witnesses told reporters that one assailant walked up to Vieira's car and shot him 3 times in the chest and head. Our newspaper, killed in Nova Iguaçu, Brazil, June 11, 2013. Suspected source of fire, criminal group. Around 8 p.m. on June 11, 2013, 4 masked men arrived by car to a bakery in the Carumba neighborhood in the city of Nova Iguaçu, in Rio de Janeiro state, and shot Brazilian journalist José Roberto Ornelas de Lemos, who was inside the business, at least 44 times, according to news reports. The Araruaman's voice, killed in Araruama, Brazil, May 13, 2020. In the afternoon of May 13, unidentified men in a car shot and killed Leonardo Pinheiro, the owner of A Voz Araruamans, a Facebook page where he posted local reporting, in the city of Araruama, in Rio de Janeiro state. According to news reports, Pinheiro was interviewing residents from the neighborhood of Parati, in Araruama, when 2 men drove up and one of them, who was hooded, Eagle Eyes, killed in Piauí, Brazil, October 25, 2016. Fernandez, a blogger and teacher, was shot dead in the early hours of October 25 as he left his house to work at an elementary school in Piripiri, a town of about 60,000 people in the northern state of Piauí, around 2,600 kilometers north of Rio de Janeiro. Fernandez was in his car outside his house when at least one attacker approached him on a red motorcycle. TV Vitória and Radio Metropolitana FM, killed in Vitória de Santo Antão, Brazil, April 9, 2011. Television and radio journalist Pedrosa was shot at a restaurant in Vitória de Santo Antão in northeastern Pernambuco state. According to press reports, an assailant fired multiple shots after entering the restaurant at about 9 p.m., the Recife-based daily Diário de Pernambuco reported. Pedrosa, struck once in the head, was pronounced dead at the scene. Freelance, killed in Aquaraz, Brazil, June 14, 2017. Unidentified assailants on June 14, 2017, shot and killed Luis Gustavo da Silva, a 25-year-old blogger, outside his home in the northeastern Brazilian town of Aquaraz. According to local police, da Silva was walking his girlfriend to her house around 9:30 p.m. when two men jumped out from an abandoned lot, and warned the girlfriend to back off. Season, killed in São Bernardo do Campo, Brazil, July 23, 2003. Da Costa, a photographer with the weekly Época, was killed while on assignment in the city of São Bernardo do Campo, São Paulo State. The 36-year-old photographer, who was known professionally as La Costa, and Época reporter Alexander Mansur were covering the occupation by homeless families of an empty lot belonging to a Volkswagen auto factory in São Bernardo do Campo. Jornal do Porto, JC Regional, and Radio Porto FM, killed in Porto Ferreira, Brazil, May 5, 2007. Barbin, 37, was shot to death while sitting on a bar terrace in the southern city of Porto Ferreira, 140 miles 230 kilometers from São Paulo. He was known for investigative reporting that exposed corruption in politics and police. FM Rio Jaguaribe, killed in Jaguaribe, Brazil, February 22, 2013. Two gunmen on a motorcycle shot Goes as he walked from his house to the radio station where he worked, according to news reports. Goes, who hosted a radio show on FM Rio Jaguaribe in the city of Jaguaribe, in the northern state of Ceará, was shot at least 5 times in the head and abdomen. The region, killed in Itabuna, Brazil, January 14, 1998. On January 14, 1998, Manuel Leal de Oliveira, publisher and editor of A Região, the largest weekly in southern Bahia state at the time, was shot and killed by assailants who had followed him as he was driving home, according to his son Marcel, who spoke to CPJ on the phone and wrote about the killing in the region. Leal was shot 6 times outside of his home in Itabuna. Independent, killed in Rio Verde, Brazil, May 1, 1995. Borges, owner of the monthly publication Independente, was murdered by a police officer in Rio Verde, in the central Brazilian state of Goiás. He was shot 4 times at point-blank range at his home and died on the way to the hospital. According to his wife, who witnessed the murder, he had received death threats after his new and very controversial paper reported on alleged human rights abuses committed by city officials, including the local police. Ubatuba Cobra, killed in Ubatuba, Brazil, December 23, 2014. Guerra was gunned down by unidentified assailants on a motorcycle in Ubatuba, a city on the northern coast of São Paulo State, according to news reports. The gunman opened fire on Guerra from outside his home through a kitchen window, reports said. The blogger's father said that he was in the house when he heard the sound of a motorcycle accelerating and then several gunshots, news reports said. The Truth, killed in Magé, Brazil, August 16, 2001. An unidentified gunman killed Coelho, administrative editor and publisher of the local thrice-monthly newspaper A Verdade, outside his house with a .45 caliber handgun. The journalist was murdered just 1 day before he was scheduled to testify in a criminal defamation lawsuit. Grooms on the Net, killed in Barra do Pirai, Brazil, February 9, 2012. The bodies of Randolfo and his companion, Maria Aparecida Guimarães, were found in the city of Barra do Pirai in Rio de Janeiro state. Both had been abducted from Randolfo's home the night before and had been shot to death early that morning, news reports said. Green Gold, killed in Paragominas, Brazil, January 11, 1997. Gatinho, a correspondent for the television station Ouro Verde, also known as TV Mundial, was fatally shot. A militant activist of the Workers' Party and a candidate in the 1996 municipal elections, the journalist had been receiving death threats because of his radio program. A truck driver with whom Gatinho had had a fight 2 days before his death. Radio Vale do Jaguaribe, killed in Limoeiro do Norte, Brazil, June 30, 2003. Nicanor, radio host and owner of Radio Vale do Jaguaribe, based in the city of Limoeiro do Norte, in the northeastern state of Ceará, was killed by at least 2 unidentified gunmen at around 8 p.m. while he was recording his daily show, Encontro Politico, Political Encounter, at his station studios. Roberto Llanos blog, killed in Bariticupu, Brazil, November 21, 2015. Araujo, a Brazilian blogger known locally as Roberto Llano, was shot dead while riding his motorcycle in Bariticupu, a town in the northern state of Maranhão, according to local press reports. Araujo, who was also a nightclub owner, DJ, and events promoter, was in Bariticupu's central square with his wife when an assailant, also on a motorcycle, shot him and then drove away. Jornal da Praça and Mercosal News, killed in Ponta Porã, Brazil, February 12, 2012. The reporter, more commonly known as Paulo Roqueiro, was driving home at around 11:30 p.m. in Ponta Porã, a city near Brazil's border with Paraguay, when two men on a motorcycle shot him at least 5 times, according to news reports. Regional overview, killed in Miguel Pereira, Brazil, February 13, 2014. Palma was gunned down by 2 unidentified men on a motorcycle outside his home in Miguel Pereira, a suburb to the south of Rio de Janeiro, and died at the scene, according to news reports. Palma was the owner of the local weekly newspaper Panorama Regional, which was circulated in several nearby journalists' colleagues and news reports. The suspect shot at the couple's motorcycle, causing the wife, who was not hit, to fall off. Radio Fronteira, killed in Tabatinga, Brazil, September 1, 2011. Canuto, 32, a radio journalist who hosted the show, Sinal Verde, Green Signal, was shot at least 8 times by unidentified assailants on a motorcycle in the city of Tabatinga, in the state of Amazonas, local press reports said. He had been returning from a local marketplace a block away from his home, his brother Alderley Canuto told CPJ. Radio Journal, killed in Goiânia, Brazil, July 5, 2012. On July 5, 2012, an unidentified gunman on a motorcycle shot Valerio Luis de Oliveira at least 4 times outside his offices at Radio Journal 820 AM, where he hosted a sports program, news reports said. He died at the scene. Oliveira was known for his critical commentary on Radio Journal and the independent television. Overview, killed in Rio Claro, Brazil, May 3, 2011. Brazilian newspaper owner and journalist Nascimento was shot in the head and chest outside the doorway to his home in Rio Claro, Rio de Janeiro state. News reports said police did not disclose a motive for the killing, although investigators told O Globo that the latest issue of Panorama Geral had cited alleged irregularities in the mayor's office in the neighboring town of Bananal. Freelance, killed in Coronel Fabriciano, Brazil, April 14, 2013. An unidentified assailant shot Carvalho, 43, at least twice in the back as he sat at a popular fishing hole and restaurant, before riding away on a motorcycle, according to news reports. Carvalho was a freelance photographer who contributed to the daily Vale do Eco in the southeastern state of Minas Gerais. Gazeta de Barroso, killed in Minas Gerais, Brazil, March 21, 1995. De Oliveira, editor of the monthly publication Gazeta de Barroso in Minas Gerais, was shot and killed by a local merchant, José Carlos de Souza. The murder apparently stemmed from a dispute about articles the journalist had written concerning de Souza's wife. Radio Zingo FM, killed in Canindé de São Francisco, Brazil, March 13, 2000. Cazuza, a journalist with Radio Zingo FM in Canindé de São Francisco, a municipality in the northeastern state of Sergipe, was shot dead after leaving a party. 2 days later, police arrested José Ferreira Melo, also known as Zé de Adolfo, who confessed to killing Cazuza.